Alright, so here you are, and no, there are no assembly instructions, but it's pretty simple, except there is one subtle aspect that I'll show you that can be missed, and I missed it initially. But there's, three major pieces. You've got three little pinions, three nuts, and three rollers, and they all make this setup here. And that's all you have to put together. You got a hole here in front of the plate, hole here in front of the plate for those two rollers, and then one more hole here. Now here's the subtle bit that I initially missed. When you look at the roller, you'll notice that on one side is flush and one side is inset. And for two of the three, I initially had it set like that because I didn't realize I was. And so when I moved the roller, the whole thing moved. So I took it apart thinking, okay, well, maybe I have to oil it because this one was working fine. That's when I realized, oh, hey, look, there you go. Inset. All right, there you go. Sits right in there, and then you're all good to go. And that's the assembly per se. So you just slip that in there, and boom. There you go. And bottle sits on top of there. Now this does move back and forth. You kind of loosen this if you want, but it's still kind of stiff action, which is not a bad thing. But you can move it like that and then tighten it down. I have you. The stiffness comes into play with this little thing here. So you just move it like that. But this wing nut does tighten down to really ensure no movement. So once you get your cutting distance, the actual steps, I know there's currently feedback saying there was no instructions. Well, I'm assuming this may have been a recent edition. There is a printed piece of paper with some instructions. Plus, the steps are listed out on the product page as well. And if you search on YouTube, wine bottle cutting or something along that lines, there's actually quite a few YouTube demonstrations. But the overall operation is actually pretty simple. Basically, you put your bottle, your wine bottle, what have you, on here. Here's your glass cutter. So you push down, and this is the bit that takes the most practice, is pushing down on the bottle and rolling it on the rollers against the glass cutter, and there's your cutting edge, and that scores the bottle. It doesn't actually cut it like you would see like in a movie of, a diamond thief cutting into glass, per se. It just scores the bottle. Then you basically alternately bathe the scored bottle in hot water, immerse it in hot water, or I saw one YouTube, because I actually watched a few YouTube videos, one steam bathed it, but a lot of them were just putting it directly in hot water using like silicone kitchen gloves or something of that nature, putting it directly in hot water, not boiling water in that case though, but hot water, heating it up, then bathing it in cold water, repeating over and over again, and that opens up the score from the constant contracting, expanding, contracting, expanding. So you do that 3 times, or steam bathe it over boiling water. That's what you're basically looking for though, is that constant contracting, expanding, contracting, expanding of the glass from heat and cold, heat and cold. Once you've done that, that loosens up, then you just go poof, and you get a clean cut. And that's it. No moss. That's it. So, but that takes the practice is getting your action nice and smooth and rolling it to score it against this. You're not cutting it. This is not the cutting portion. You're just scoring it. And then alternately bathing it or getting it subject to heat and cold. I actually have a hairdryer that does 155 plus degrees on high. So actually, that's what I actually did with. I have another one of these that's pretty much exactly the same thing. It's just slightly, these are slightly further out. But that's what I did with that one. I used this professional hairdryer, and I actually use that to heat it up with that super hot heat coming out of the hairdryer, and then put it in cold water, heat it up with the hairdryer, cold water, that sort of thing. So there's yet another option that I stumbled upon myself. And just getting that expansion, retraction, expansion, retraction to the point where that score that you did here is enough to just break cleanly off. And that's the whole thing. That's the mystery. And not much of a mystery. So, alright, so there you guys go. You have yourself a good one.